Council members are back for the first meeting in 2 months. Apparently, memos are piled up for consideration. And with first-hand information from his sympathy visit to Maiduguri, President Bola Tinubu was poised for immediate action as the council deliberated on the causes of the Maiduguri flood disaster vis-à-vis the response efforts of the government ministries and agencies.
Gentlemen of the press.
At the briefing anchored by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security reported on the effort through his ministry, including the release of grains from the National Reserve.
After Mr. President's visit, he also approved the immediate release from the National Strategic Reserve of 100 trailers of rice, 50 trailers of maize, 30 trailers of sorghum and 20 trailers of millet. And that's in the process of delivery. Half of it has already been delivered and the delivery is ongoing.
Learning from the experience of the past, the Council was to prepare for the future as it approved the constitution of a committee for the National Disaster Relief Fund announced by the President in Maiduguri, while a technical committee has also been set up for the reassessment of integrity of dams in the country.
To look into not only the Alao Dam, but other dams in the country, to reassess them and come up with recommendations that will solve the challenge of flooding, and also putting into use the available dams we have.
Ministry of Works got approvals for various roads construction and rehabilitation projects across the country, including Section 2 of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway and a section of the Abuja-Kaduna Road.
And that is 82 kilometers by 2, and it's to be done with asphalt that they have been working with. And the third section is Buat, which is just 17 kilometers to be done on concrete. And so today, FEC approved that of Jolobeja because the other two were not before FEC. And so for a total contract sum of 740 billion.
Similarly, the FCT administration secured council's approvals to improve infrastructures across its satellite towns, which include roads construction in Kwali, Gwagwalada and Buari area councils.
It has been Mr. President's renewable agenda that we should also take development to the satellite towns. As I speak to you today, I know before December we'll be able to commission not less than 75 kilometers of roads. But Mr. President had also said we must continue to give hope and give infrastructure to satellite towns.
Finance Minister also briefed on the objectives of the Executive Economic Stabilization Bill to be sent to the National Assembly.
It contains, for example, items that change the Foreign Exchange Act, give greater liquidity and encourage the use of electronic rather than cash means, for example. And of course, giving the central bank even greater ability to bring in and attract funds such as the money from the international money transfer organizations.
Therein is also a proposal to amend the Companies Income Tax Act to allow Nigerians with the skills and relevant relationships to provide services to foreign companies while they live in Nigeria. From the State House, Musbah and Wahab, NC News.
Still on approval given by the Federal Executive Council, the Ministry of Information and National Orientation is set to begin a nationwide program to revitalize core national values of the country currently facing decadence. This follows approval granted to the ministry by the Federal Executive Council. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who announced the approval after the meeting of the Council, says it will enable the ministry and its agencies begin measures to strengthen core national values across primary and secondary schools, institute the National Value Charter, as well as standardize national symbols.
the National Citizens Values Brigade will be established, not just in primary schools, in secondary schools across this country. Now, this will also help to create the ambassadors of Nigerian values that this country seeks to have. Again, there was an approval of the inclusion of the National Values Charter and the national symbols to be made mandatory, not just in our curriculum, in the teaching of civic education, but also among appointees of government. For example, at every retreat, at the inception of every administration, members, for example, of the Federal Executive Council will have some form of workshop or training on what our national values are, so that this can be further be inculcated. And not only that, also the standardization of our national symbols, the national flag, the national anthem, the Naira notes, the Constitution, and all those things that make what we call our national symbols. We must standardize them. Council has approved that the National Orientation Agency will take charge of that. The way we see our flags being hosted in some indiscriminate manner will be standardized.